Welcome. This is CJ Johnson from Age Well with CJ. Tonight we're going to talk about the 5 keys to staying healthy and fit. So I hope that you are somebody who is over 40, because that's really who the show is targeted to, is people who are over 40 who want to get healthy or get healthier, stay fit, and just live this absolutely wonderful life that I'm living. My background is the golf industry. I come from golf. I'm a golf professional, a ski professional, and I'm a fitness trainer, a health and wellness coach, and I have a passion for helping people just like you get and stay fit. What I don't have sometimes is a little tech ability, and I notice I'm just getting a little distracted here at one of my screens, so let me see if I can. There we go. I got this great PowerPoint set up for you to teach you the things that are important about health and wellness. So at least the areas of fitness, the 5 areas of fitness and health and wellness. So if you are excited about this evening, if you wouldn't mind giving a little thumbs up or a little heart, a little like, something like that, that would be great. And I do have a question for you, kind of a question of the day. What's your favorite workout? What workout do you do, and how often do you do it? So what's your favorite way to work out? For me, it changes. It depends sometimes on the time of year. It depends on what I'm into. Unfortunately, I'm kind of one of those people who tend to go through phases. I got into a marathon phase a couple years back, half marathons actually. I never did a full one. I didn't like it that much. But so I tend to go in phases. So I'm curious, what's your favorite workout and how many times a week are you doing it? Because one of the things that I know, at least for me, is unfortunately, I like to do the same things. I enjoy them, so I do them. And usually I guess like most people, right, you do them, and if you like them, you probably do them pretty well, and you tend to do them over and over again. What happens is we don't get as fit as we should be. We don't get as fit as we need to be. And excuse me, I'm looking down here and I got all these noises going off. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get some comments here, and I'm trying to see your comments. Okay, I'm finally seeing some comments here. Thank you guys for some of those, for commenting and joining in. But let me know again what your favorite workout is, because as I said, we do these things, sometimes we do them too often, and what happens, it leads to poor fitness. We're maybe very fit in one area and not very fit in another area. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. What are the 5 key areas of fitness, and how do you find out where you stand? So if you hang around to the very end, I have for you some resources page, some video, and a free self-assessment test that you can take to find out exactly where you are. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's look at what are the key areas of health and wellness. So there's really 5 key areas that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about, first of all, body composition, cardio endurance, muscular strength and endurance, flexibility, and balance. A couple little side notes here. Most people would put muscular endurance and muscular strength, they would put those into the same category. Into different categories, I'm sorry. I have a reason for putting them together, and I'll explain that when we talk about exactly what they are. The other one, balance, is not always included, but if you're over the age of 40, your balance is already starting to deteriorate. So balance is a key factor for anyone who's looking to get fit and healthy as we get older. So let's go ahead and let's get started with a couple of definitions. Let's start with body composition. What exactly is it? So think of it this way. It's the percentage of body weight that's fat compared to the other tissue in your body, which is bone and muscle. So for today's purposes, body composition and body fat percentage, I'm going to use those 2 things interchangeably today. So you're going to hear me mention either one or the other. Now, you might have heard of something called BMI, right? Body mass index. And I want to talk about body mass index for a while, for just a minute, because it's different than body fat percentage. Body mass index is a measurement that's used really to measure the masses. You see BMI maybe at for insurance companies, doctors' offices. All BMI is simply a height weight measurement. That's it. So it's your height against your weight. And BMI is not accurate. And I'm going to show you the reason why. Look at this guy. This is Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis is an NFL player. He used to play for the 49ers. Now I think he's playing for the Redskins. So Vernon Davis looks pretty good over there, doesn't he? We've been working pretty hard on his body. So here's his stats. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall. He weighs 250 pounds. My guess is that in this picture, he's somewhere between an 8 and 10% body fat percentage. I think we could all look at this picture and say, this guy is incredibly fit, has a very low fat level, because if you look at his abs, he's ripped. You don't get to see ripped abs if somebody doesn't have a low body fat percentage. But if you just took his BMI measurement, he's 31.2%, and on a BMI scale, he'd be considered obese. Well, Vernon Davis may be a lot of things, but he is definitely not somebody who is obese. So body mass index is not a good measurement. We really want to stick to body fat percentage or body composition. So how do you measure that? Well, there's a couple of ways. You can get scans. There's 3 different types of scans, and perhaps you've heard of a couple of them. One's a DEXA scan, the other one is a body pod, and then you have underwater. DEXA scan uses X-ray, body pods use air, and underwater, obviously, uses water to measure your body composition. Now, they're generally pretty accurate. The downside to getting those types of scans is they can be hard to find. If you live in a large city, you probably have some kind of access to them. But they're pretty expensive. Depending upon the type of scan, it could be between $75 and $300 per scan. So that's a pretty hard way to measure any progress that you're making in your body. It might give you a starting point, but you're really not going to be able to, at least most of us financially are not going to be able to keep tracking that particular measurement using those types of scans. Another thing you might have heard of are some of the devices that we see today. Scales, handheld devices. Typically, Omron makes a scale, Whiting's makes a scale. And what those do is those use electrical impulses, or BIA, to shoot an electrical impulse through your body and then uses equations to give you a number, a body composition or a body fat percentage. Unfortunately, outside of a major lab setting, like a lab at a college, those tend to be very inaccurate as well, because they're relying more on the equations versus the technology. So if you don't have one, don't run out and buy one. The easiest way to get your body fat percentage measurement is with a caliper. Perhaps you have seen one of these before. It's a little kind of, almost looks like a little elevator. Something prehistoric anyway. So what this does is the body caliper, in this little device, we pull the skin, a skin fold, away from the body, and it gives us a measurement over here. And I know that it's hard to see on this, but over here there are a variety of numbers over here. So when I do this, I pull that skin away from the body and it gives me a number, and then I match it to a corresponding chart. Now, calipers are pretty accurate once you've learned how to use them. They are something that you can do pretty inexpensively. This was, I think, $14.95 on Amazon. So it's something that you can learn to do pretty inexpensively, and it's a great way to track your body composition, because the bottom line is this, is the leaner you are, the healthier you're going to be, the less susceptible you are to getting any type of disease. Plainly put, you're going to live longer if you're leaner. So instead of getting on the scale, make a commitment to learn how to use a body caliper. And I mentioned at the very end of this, I'm going to give you some resources. I found 2 great videos, one for men, one for women, because we do measure differently. We measure on a couple of areas of our body, so we measure a little differently. And I've got links to those videos to help you to understand how to measure your own body composition. So, I'm curious, have you ever had your body composition measured before? If you have, just if you would, put yes down in the comments. You don't have to tell me. I know, pinch, ouch, right? It's just a little pinch on the caliper, Chris, so you don't have to worry about that. But it is, what's worse sometimes is the number when we really find out what our body fat percentage is. But that's again a great measure of healthy, and ultimately we're going to live longer. So that's number 1. That's our body fat percentage. So let's go ahead and move on to number 2, which is I think what we probably think of the most when we talk about healthy people is cardio endurance. I know it's the first thing that comes to mind for me. So just to define it is really the ability to exercise the entire body over a long period of time. So think heart and lung endurance. That's what it is. So there's a couple of ways to measure that, and I'm going to talk about one. And in the self-assessment that I give to you at the end, I actually have both of these. The first one I'm going to talk about is resting heart rate. If you're more cardiovascularly fit, your resting heart rate is lower. So this is a super easy one. In fact, this is something that you can do tomorrow morning. Before you get out of bed, before you do anything, measure your heart rate. Take your index finger and the middle finger right next to it, and you're going to take your carotid pulse. And so your carotid pulse, if you come down here from your jaw and slide your hand underneath and just gently press, you should be able to find your pulse. Make sure you're using these 2 fingers. We never want to use the thumb because the thumb itself has a pulse. So slide down here and feel yourself right here, your carotid pulse. So in the morning, take your carotid pulse for 30 seconds. So you're going to count it for 30 seconds, then you're going to multiply it by 2. That is your resting heart rate. The average resting heart rate for the untrained heart, so for if you're not doing any training, is somewhere between 60 and 90. If you're doing training, your heart rate should be lower than that number. In fact, like a marathon, an endurance athlete, a well-trained endurance athlete, so somebody who's running marathons, that type of thing, cyclists, their heart rates tend to be in that 48-ish area, their resting heart rates. One of the lowest resting heart rates ever recorded, believe it or not, was 26. And he was a cyclist. He rode in the Tour de France, but a cyclist back in 1996 had a resting heart rate of 26. I'm sorry, that's amazing to me. My resting heart rate is 55. That's my resting heart rate. So when you do this before you get out of bed. Do it over a couple of day periods so that you can see any trends that you may have. If you know your resting heart rate, and some of you may have already done this, throw that down in the comments below. I'd like to know, first of all, if you know what it is, and really kind of how low can you go, because that's a great indicator of health. Another test that you can take is a 12-minute walk-run test. Simply, how far can you go in 12 minutes? And on that self-assessment, I have categories so you can break it down so you can see where you are inside of your age group. So one of those 2 tests is going to give you a sampling of how well you're doing cardiovascularly. So we've talked about our body composition, we've talked about our cardio, and now we're going to need to move into that muscle endurance and muscular strength. And if you remember before, I told you that I combine these. Let's talk about what they are separately and then why I put them together. So muscular strength is the amount of force that you can put forth with your muscles. How strong are you? Muscular endurance is the ability to use those muscles repeatedly without getting tired. So now one of the, and obviously that's just important for our daily living, is to be both strong as well as endurance. I mean, think about bringing groceries in from outside in the car. You can make fewer trips if you're a little bit stronger, so that's one good thing to it. But just daily living can be difficult if you don't have strength as well as endurance. And I chose to combine these, even though most people would put them separately. The reason that I chose to combine those two things is because they are so closely intertwined. It can be difficult for somebody who's not trained to understand what's endurance and what's strength. Here's the example. Let's talk about push-ups. How many push-ups can you do? Okay, I can do 20 push-ups on my feet, and then my muscles give out. For me, a push-up test is an endurance test. My muscles are strong enough to do it. But other people can't even do one push-up on their feet. Then it becomes a strength test. So it's very hard to know what's strength and what's endurance. And really, when we work on the muscles, frankly, we're working on both of them together. So that's why they're combined together. What is important when you're measuring your muscular strength as well as your muscular endurance, you want to measure the different areas of your body. As an example, I just gave you the push-up test. Most women are not going to do really well on the push-up test. We tend to be weaker in the upper body, stronger in the lower body. So we want to measure our upper body. We're going to do that with the push-up test. Sorry, love them or hate them, they are there and they do tell us about our upper body strength. Then for the core, we're going to do a plank test to see how long we can hold that plank. For the lower body, we're going to do a wall sit and see how long we can do the wall sit. So those are the three tests for your muscular strength as well as muscular endurance. So we've talked about the top three right now, the three key features: muscular strength, muscular endurance, cardiovascular, as well as our body composition. The last two are sometimes not thought of, and they are so important to overall health and fitness. So we're going to move on to flexibility and mobility. So let me give you a definition of these two. So flexibility is the ability to use your joints fully. So that means your muscles are long enough and the joints are free enough to allow movement. Mobility is the amount of functional movement you have around a joint while it's in motion. We're going to focus a lot on flexibility tonight, but let me give you an example, and it's actually my husband, and he is very mobile in the joint and not very flexible. When he sits, he likes to sit on the floor, and he often sits cross-legged. He sits in the lotus position. So cross-legged with one foot on top of each thigh. So think that yoga position that you look at and you go, oh my gosh, you got to be like a pretzel. He gets into that position very easily all the time. He has a lot of mobility inside of his hip joints. But when it comes to flexibility in his leg, he's kind of a typical guy. He has a lot less. When he does a sit test, and the sit test is the most common one for flexibility, you sit on the floor. You start with your knees bent and you're going to grab your ankles. You slowly try and straighten out your legs. At the same time, you don't want to let go of those ankles. You want to see how far down you can go. You get extra credit if you go out past, get your hands past the top of your toes. Now, John, while he can sit in this lotus position very easily, he barely gets his legs straight on the floor, and I'm not really sure he can hold on to his ankles. So he has a lot of mobility in a joint, not necessarily a lot of flexibility. And our mobility in joints differs compared to joints. So if you feel like one area of your body, you just don't have enough mobility, it's probably best worked on with a trainer or a physical therapist working on that specific area. Flexibility can be improved in a lot of different ways, and sometimes that's just as simple as doing some stretching. So let's do the sit test first and see where you are in terms of flexibility, and then you'll be like, really everything else on this list, everything here is improvable. You just have to get a starting point. So if you're still with me, give me a little thumbs up. Let me know that we're headed into the home stretch here. Getting to number 5. I just want to check some of my comments because I see some down below. My sister is on tonight, and she says she's seen John do this, and it's absolutely freakish. And yes, it's kind of a little bit of a joke in the family that he can sit like that. He's a big, tall guy. He's 6'2" with lots of legs, and he is, he's very mobile, but not extremely flexible. So we've talked about the 4 key things. Again, our body composition, our strength, our cardio, as well as now our flexibility. We're going to take this out and we're going to talk about balance. As we age, our balance decreases. And so let's define it again first. So the ability to stay in control of your body, that's just simply balance. But we have 2 ways of measuring balance. One is static balance. So essentially, if you're standing still. The other one would be dynamic balance. So how well can you balance while you're moving? And we really want to measure both, especially if you're an active athlete. Static balance is one thing. As a skier, I practice a lot of static balance, but when I'm out on the hill, I need dynamic balance. I need to be in balance over my skis. So balance. These are really simple, easy tests that you could do when we're done tonight. It's simply standing on one foot. So what you do is you get set, you pull in your core, and you lift one leg off the ground. Now, a little key here, make sure that you do both legs, because sometimes we have more muscular strength and or endurance on one leg versus the other. We can also have more coordination on one side versus the other. So make sure that you do both feet. See how long you can stand and hold that leg up in the air. Now for some people that's going to be extremely easy. If it was easy for you, do the same thing, only close your eyes. I guarantee you that one is not quite as easy. When you take away our eyesight, balance becomes a challenge. It's so important to practice our balance because I said it decreases as we age. And it is the leading cause. 1.6 million Americans are killed or injured every year by some kind of fall. And it's probably happened to your parents or to a relative. A fall with a broken bone has dramatically changed or perhaps even taken their life. It's never too late to start practicing your balance, and it's something that you can improve over time, just like all 5 of these things. So let's go back one more time and just review them. You've got the body composition, your cardio endurance, your muscular strength and endurance, flexibility and mobility, as well as balance. If you're practicing and you're working on those 3 areas, I guarantee you, you're going to be fit, you're going to be healthy, and likely probably in the best shape of your life because you're practicing a well-rounded program. The good news is here, you don't have to add extra time into your workouts. All you have to do, instead of like we talked about at the very beginning, you have those favorite workouts that you're maybe doing all the time. All you really need to do to fit these things in is balance your workouts around these 5 key areas, and you're going to see your fitness levels go through the roofs. I promised you at the very beginning that I was going to give you some resources to help you with this. So if you go to this website, which is agewellwithcj.com/self-fitness-test. On that site, I'm going to have all the instructions because I'm sure you've taken meticulous notes here. I'm sure that you're going to that you'll have all the instructions. I have videos for you along with a scorecard that's based upon your age. So you'll have this great way to get a starting point and to see exactly where you're at. So make sure you go to AgeWell with CJ self-fitness test. I'm going to come on back and take a real quick look at these comments down here. I've got one. I saw this one when I was on the last slide. I took a look down, and Rick tells me I love it. He says, I can do a 3-minute plank. I gotta tell you, a 3-minute plank, and I don't care if it's on your elbows or up on your arms, a 3-minute plank is killer. Thumbs up. Let's give a little thumbs up to Rick down there. I have to tell you, planks, one of those things for me about planks is after 30 seconds, as I have my little phone timer going, I'm like, oh my God, just get me out of this. Now I can hold it not for quite for 3 minutes, but that is definitely one of those killer exercises because it feels like everything in your body is shaking. So if you got any questions, now's the time to go ahead and put them down in the comment section down below. You can always put them down later. I will be coming back and I'll be checking the comment section, so be sure that you ask me any questions there. Before you end the week, get that self-assessment, get that fitness test, and give yourself the test and see what are the things that you need to improve. Your body's going to thank you. You're going to be more fit. You're going to get to do all the things that you love, all the sports and athletics that you love even better. This weekly show is going to be back here next Tuesday night. We're going to be starting again at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And next week, we are going to be talking about reigniting your workout program. So now that you knew where to start, right? Where are your strengths and your weaknesses? How do you put that in a plan, and how do you reignite yourself to get even healthier? I hope that you take this information out and you start changing your life, because I know that together we can train smart, live bold, and age well.